Hey class, so here is the final essay that you are working on this week, our final week in class, in a nutshell. So I wanted to take that big long essay assignment for our final week and compress it into the most important components, and here they are. All right, the final essay, major paper 2, which is Formalist Criticism Text Analysis, in other words, a literary analysis. It's assigned this week. You can look in this final week's folder for the due date and the Dropbox. They're both there. Also in the folder, you may notice I have some literary analysis supplemental helps. So if you'd like to see more of that in-depthly, you can check out that folder. It's also got some 3.5 academic essay format information. If you would like to use the 3.5 essay format to structure your argument, you don't have to, but that I just give you that as, something to go on, something concrete to look at. Also in that folder are the grading criteria for the essay and a link to the Purdue OWL Online Writing Lab website for MLA information, Modern Language Association information that you will use to format your required works cited page. And that also tells you like heading information and like standard margins, double spacing, all that good stuff that you need to do for academic essays in English classes. Of course, that is all spelled out in the final essay assignment as well that you can find in our final week folder. And what else is in there? Let's see. Oh, checklists. Yes. Revision checklists so that when you, if you want to revise your essay, and I encourage you to do so because that will improve your grade, you can use this checklist to help yourself you generate a new eye to go back and look at your essay, read through it, figure out, oh, do I need to write more here? Is this clear enough? Is this extra? Is it on topic? Do I need to cut it? Do I need to rearrange things? Do I need to copy and paste some things elsewhere? That's all part of the revision process. And it's kind of like that rethinking that you do of your essay that just takes it to the next level and makes it that much better. Because when you get that new perspective, that fresh eye, to go back and look at it, then you'll see things that you missed, or you see things that you thought you had in there, but you don't really, or some things you may notice, oh, hey, I need to put a little bit more information in there to clarify it, or to support it better, or to illustrate my point. Because remember, your job as the writer is to provide evidence to the reader. I say, always think of yourself as the lawyer, think of the reader as the jury, and you're presenting evidence to that jury or the reader to support the thesis statement that you're making, which is what a lawyer would be doing to support the case that he or she may be making in court. So think of it that way. It's kind of a fun little way to think about writing essays. And then that underscores the point that you need to show us your information, not just tell us about it. Show it to us so that we can see it with our own eyes. In other words, put quotations in from the work you're analyzing and analyze those quotations, and use them to support your argument, whatever you're arguing about, your literary work that you choose to analyze in this final essay. And the final essay assignment located in our final week folder has many suggested topics and thesis statements. You can use those if you like. You don't have to, but they're there to give you a better idea of the scope of the essay and what you do to do a literary analysis of a piece of literature. It's what we do every week in class when we use the discussion forums and I pose those questions to you, and you use material from the literary works you're reading to support an analysis that answers the discussion question. And then when I write my professor's notes at the end of the week, and you can see my thoughts on the essay or on the pieces that we're reading, I do the same thing. I'm analyzing meaning in those and drawing from specifics in the literary work to support my analysis of meaning in it. That's what a literary analysis or a formalist criticism text analysis does. Now, of course, you may use biographical and historical information if you need it to support your points. Typically in a formalist criticism, you don't, but I'm saying, hey, you can do that in our class because so much of our class has talked about women throughout time and history and drawn from their biographies. So if you need that to support the meaning that you're extracting or locating or analyzing in the piece of work, you may do so. But of course, support your points with a close reading of the text, with quotations that are illustrating the points that you're drawing from or analyzing in the work. All right, so your essay should be 4 to 5 pages long. That does not include the works cited page in the 4 to 5 page length. That is the works cited page should be an extra page in addition to the 4 to 5 page essay that you're writing. And the works cited page is required, and it should list the bibliographic information for any source that you quote in your essay. So if you're quoting something, make sure the source goes on your works cited page and you have the complete MLA bibliographic information, and you organize that works cited page according to MLA format, or Modern Language Association format, which you may see at Purdue OWL, the online writing lab address that I have posted in the assignment and elsewhere in class. You also may ask me questions on our sample student essay and optional discussion forum that I've posted for the essay itself. Doesn't mean our other final week discussion forum is optional. No, it is not. But posting things on the sample essay and optional discussion forum on the essay itself, that one is optional, but I encourage you to post any questions you have there, because then we can all learn from each other. We can benefit from each other's questions, and I can answer them and other students can answer them, and we can all share information and learn from each other. Because guess what? If you have a question, probably somebody else has the exact same one, or a similar one at least. So we can all benefit from that shared interaction on the discussion forum. Okay, so for major paper 2, which is the final essay, because major paper 1 was the midterm essay, this is the final essay, you pick one piece of literature we have studied in class during weeks 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 11. So it's that latter half of class, right? That everything after the midterm. You analyze some type of meaning in the work based on an analysis of literary devices the work uses, like symbols, rhyme, rhythm, alliteration, characters, metaphor, etc. Anything that you'd like to analyze to create a coherent pattern of meaning or message that you're extracting from the literary work that you're choosing is fair game. Okay. So you use these literary elements to help understand meaning better in the literary piece you choose, like what you see me do in weekly lectures and professor's notes and what you do on the discussion forums. You may use historical biographical information, as I said earlier, to provide context if it helps analyze whichever literary elements you choose to analyze within the work you're choosing to analyze. Okay. The 5-paragraph essay format, in other words, that 3.5 academic essay format, would work well with this essay. Of course, it's not the only format that is acceptable. You can play around with it. You can use a different one. But the point is have a structure to your argument, to your essay, so that it is followable and graspable easily by whoever's reading it. For example, you could begin the essay with an introductory paragraph that concludes with a thesis statement. That introductory paragraph will conclude with a thesis statement, in other words. And the thesis statement should, for clarity, itemize its thesis points. If you want to use 3, that's fine. If you want to use 2 or 4 or 5, but just remember you're choosing a number of thesis points so that you can write that 4 to 5 page essay. So, you need to keep it within those parameters. And those body paragraphs that you're going to write after the introductory paragraph will be developing at least one thesis point. Well, only one thesis point, not more than one thesis point in a body paragraph. But sometimes people like to do maybe 2 paragraphs on a thesis point, or 3 paragraphs on a thesis point, or 1, or whichever works for you. But if you choose to do 1 paragraph per thesis point, then make sure all of them are developed. All of your thesis points are developed in 1 paragraph only. If you choose to do 2 paragraphs per thesis point, then make sure all of your thesis points have that 2 paragraph developmental format, or 3 paragraphs per thesis point. Whatever you choose, develop each thesis point balancedly. In other words, you should spend the same amount of time, approximately, developing each thesis point so that one doesn't feel imbalanced, compared to the others, right? They should have about the same amount of development to make them worthwhile as thesis points, right? Otherwise, it feels as if, hey, why'd you even choose that if you have not very much to say about it? Or If you have a ton to say about another one and not as much to say about this one, they seem unequal, you know, so you want equal weight behind your thesis points. All right. You would finish the essay, of course, with a concluding paragraph that wraps up the essay's argument and recaps its 3 thesis points. If you feel as if you need more than 1 paragraph per thesis point, you could use 2 paragraphs, as I said earlier, or 3, or whatever, but make sure you spend the same number of time, or the same number of paragraphs per thesis point, so they each have equal weight. And then recap those thesis points in your concluding paragraph. If you have 2, recap 2 of them. If you have 3, recap 3. If you have 4, recap 4, etc. So that you are reminding the reader of what you set out to accomplish, which is your thesis statement, and that you actually accomplished it by developing the thesis points. And recap those thesis points in the same order in which your thesis statement presented them, and also in the same order in which your body paragraphs developed them. Of course, begin each body paragraph with a topic sentence. The topic sentence should introduce the particular thesis point that paragraph, that body paragraph, or that set of body paragraphs will be developing. All right, those are just signposts to the reader, so it makes it that much easier for the reader to grasp your argument. It's just so much for clarity, because if the reader gets lost while reading your paper, then your argument isn't going to come across. It's not going to be proven to the reader. So to prove your argument, you want to put signposts in and make the job as easy as possible on the reader. That's why you show, you don't tell, and you include lots of signposts. In other words, you show your evidence. You don't just tell the reader about your evidence, you show it. You quote, you provide details, specifics from the work that you're analyzing to support the point you're making about it. All right, make sure your essay has a works cited page, as I said earlier, where you should cite the work you are analyzing as well as any supporting information your essay quotes. So if you're quoting something else from a different source, if you are quoting from a different source, make sure you use that.